Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3 Wide TV Tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series here on the channel. I'm Peter Short, and alongside me here tonight is none other than Andre Graham Bush. And Andre, here we are, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, round number 2. Last week at Daytona was thrilling, lots of green flag action. Hopefully we'll get more of that here on this 1.5 mile D-shaped oval.
That's right. Insert the obligatory gambling references because we are here in Sin City. And I got to tell you, Peter, this is probably my number one favorite 1.5 miles on the surface, especially with these trucks. I don't do a whole lot of racing myself these days, but this is one track I always make sure to hop on, run some official races. And boy, oh boy, I can't wait to see what these guys do.
Yeah, just about 2 minutes left here in practice. It is Matt Cherry, fastest of all here in this session. Second place, Brandon King, Scott Crump, Garrett Gleason up there near the top of the board. And just like you, I love this racetrack, Andre. It produces some great side-by-side action, especially early in the run. In fact, some people say that especially with these trucks, it almost races like a super speedway for the opening 5 or 6 laps of a run before tire wear starts to come into play. And I'm sure we'll get to see which of these drivers are able to save the most tire here tonight. Of course, we do have one stage caution here. That, I believe, is going to be coming at the end of lap number 20. So pretty early in the running, a little bit of like a competition caution, if you will, Andre. But a lot on the line here tonight as we, of course, move towards the playoffs late in the season. But every race matters. Tonight matters as much as that final race right before the playoffs begin. So you gotta back up a good run last week, and if you didn't have a good week last week, you got to bounce back tonight.
Yes, some might say that the real season starts now. There's a lot of drivers who kind of consider Daytona and Talladega to be kind of lotteries, and you don't really know what's going to happen at those races, and sometimes it feel like things are out of your hands. But a track like this, it really does come down to the driver. And you mentioned that competition caution coming out at lap 20. I like that because, to me, lap 20 is right about when you're going to start noticing significant tire wear. And that's going to give these guys a chance to come down pit road, get the tires taken off, and then they can swap over that black box, take a look at what percentage they have, and kind of figure out, okay, did I save enough? Do I need to save more? Or, was I maybe saving too much? Like, I barely wore this tire. I don't need to worry about it. But that's going to give them a reference point. We got 125 laps tonight, so a long race to focus on tires, fuel, everything else they got to juggle. And this track does kind of eat away at tires, especially in turn 1. It tends to get a little bit tight on the corner exit. Your car wants to drift up towards the wall, and so kind of instinctively, you'll see some drivers cranking on that steering wheel, just trying to squeeze it out of the corner without sliding up and hitting the wall. But the more you do that, the more you're wearing out that right front, which is going to be a persistent issue. And I think the driver who wins here tonight is going to be the driver that knows how to save that right front.
Yeah, for sure. Saving that right front is going to be very, very important. Of course, 125 laps scheduled here tonight, so just about 200 miles. It is 301 kilometers here tonight. Of course, this race sponsored by Schue's Lawn Service, presented by FatalConcepts.com, and of course, Schue's Lawn Service up there in Pennsylvania, Littlestown, Pennsylvania, to be precise. And we've got to give them a huge shout out for sponsoring tonight's race. And of course, Fatal Concepts presenting tonight's race as well. They will actually be the race sponsor next week. You can check out the link to FatalConcepts.com if you need an iRacing paint scheme. You got to go check them out. Some really, really cool stuff. All right, well, we are in qualifying. We got some trucks out there on the racetrack, Andre. Let's see if we can ride on board here with driver of the 00. This is Paul Bilson. And Andre, take us for a lap around this 1.5 mile racetrack.
So Las Vegas is kind of interesting in that it looks the same from an outside perspective when you're up here in the booth at both ends of the track. But both corners, both ends of the track race completely differently. So turns 1 and 2 feel like the tighter end of the track. You're going to see him enter high. He's going to try to get down on that painted white line because there is a thin groove of grip down there. And he's going to arc it out, but he does have to lift just a little bit through that turn. Now, 3 and 4 is a lot more sweeping, so you don't really have to lift on fresh tires. You can take this corner wide open. You're not cranking on the steering wheel as much. You're going to see he's taking just a little bit of a higher line, and he's doing that to make sure that that car stays free. He's not pinching it down because unlike 1 and 2, 3 and 4 gets loose on the bottom. So 1 and 2, there's grip down low. 3 and 4, there is absolutely zero grip down low. So you kind of got to run them the opposite. But Bilson is going to finish his lap there. Now it looks like the number 13 is working his way down the, what do they call it, the Nellis straightaway, and into 3 and 4.
Yeah, of course, Nellis Air Force Base, just outside of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as Josh Smith was on the provisional pole for just a moment. Jason Freeman jumped to the top. Steven Lashinsky jumped to the top, and now Brandon King in the number 55 Toyota Tundra is top of the leaderboard. Of course, Matt Cherry, fastest of all in practice. Let's keep our eyes on the Max Pappas Industries sponsored Chevrolet coming to the start-finish line right here. What can the 51 do on his opening lap? He's just going to go 10th on the board. Andre, it really takes these trucks about a full lap or two to get wound up. And look at David Buell, the number 52 Simbox Chevrolet, currently top of the board. Well, I was about to say by 800ths of a second, but now the number 48 of Fred Lester has slotted into second. Good lap time for him. Let's see what Matt Cherry can do. Also, just jumping up to second on the board, keep our eyes on him. Jason Gracias, a former series champion here of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. He won the championship 2 seasons ago. He is running tonight, did not participate last week at Daytona International Speedway. But Andre, great to see Jason Gracias in the field, and he, as always, is nice and fast as the checkered flag starts to come out on for some of these drivers as they get 2 laps, Andre, and that's all they get for their qualifying time. But look at this. Our Daytona pole sitter got Crump fastest again. Impressive, trying to go for 2 poles in a row.
Yeah, we might be looking at the Ryan Newman of the league here, qualifying on pole week after week. There's not too many drivers left that have yet to post a time, so he's looking pretty secure in that pole position with that 30.67. Pretty quick lap. When you look at the lap times behind him, you got 30.74, 30.75, 30.77. The only driver to get down into the 6s. So we'll see what the number 69 machine can do. Dominic Tesoro, very fast car back at Daytona. Looked like he was one of the contenders to win it for a while there. Let's see what he can do at Las Vegas. We still got 6 minutes on the clock, although I doubt we're going to run that out. A lot of these drivers are getting out there and posting their times pretty quick. We are in the evening towards the sunset, so no need to wait for a cloud or for the track to really get too cool. But Tesoro is going to wind up 15th on the leaderboard pylon with a 30.88. And that's how tight it is, Peter. I mean, 15th, and he's only about a 10th and a half off of our pole sitter.
Yeah, this racetrack is going to put a very tight spread on qualifying times just because it's mostly flat out. And right now, from Scott Crump with that 30.67, the only driver in the 30.6s, all the way back to that driver right there, John Flamian, only about 0.2 of a second. Not a whole lot separating these drivers as Justin White out there on the racetrack. In fact, currently the only driver still out there on the racetrack in the number 2 Grinds Coffee Pouches Chevrolet. Working his way right now through turns number 1 and 2. I think he's going to back it down. I think he is going to be done as we're down to 5 minutes left on the clock. Jason Schue, sporting the Kevin Harvick inspired number 3 machine this season, it looks like. Of course, Kevin Harvick's final season, and throwing it back to Kevin Harvick's rookie season with the white and red and the GM Goodwrench Service Plus on the hood. In fact, it was the only year that Kevin Harvick ran the Plus on the hood. Of course, 2002, it went to GM Goodwrench Service, and then 2003, it just went to GM Goodwrench. He lost the word every year for his first couple of seasons. But nonetheless, Jason Schue coming to the line. Of course, he is sponsoring tonight's race, so make sure to check out Schue's Lawn Service if you're close to Littlestown, Pennsylvania. And currently, Jason slots himself 17th on the board. 4 minutes left, Andre, and I don't know if they're going to let him run him out, but, might be an opportunity for us to drag one of these drivers down into the 3-wide TV booth. Let's, of course, we'll kind of keep things, we'll keep our eyes on whether or not they jump. But, Andre, let's see if we can get Scott Crump here, currently our provisional pole sitter. I'll let you take it away, Andre.
Mr. Crump, you got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4.
Well, Scott, you're looking to be the Rocket Man Ryan Newman of the league, going for your second pole running. Seems like you are the man when it comes to qualifying. How you feeling about the race?
I think the race is going to be kind of crazy. It's a lot of grip out here and we're wide open. So draft is pretty good too. So the main thing's gonna be protecting the inside. You get stuck on the outside, and people just gonna draft right on by you.
Yeah, definitely going to be a lot of drafting coming into play, especially when the tires are fresh. Now, this track is going to kind of eat away at the tires, and it's going to start to drive a lot different as the run goes on. Are you concerned at all with tire conservation, or what's the deal there?
No, I noticed there's not a whole lot of tire fall off. At least for me, it wasn't. So we'll see how it goes. So I was hoping for more tire fall off because I like saving tires, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely makes for a better show when the tires wear a little bit more, but we'll see what they do. Last question I just want to ask you here is because you seem to be so good at qualifying. What's your secret here? I mean, when it comes to hot laps, you're the man to beat. I mean, more than just about a tenth faster than second place. Where does it come from?
Just pretty much momentum. Just get a good run off the corners and don't overheat your tires going out on the outlap pretty much.
All right. Well, Scott, we thank you for your time, and good luck in the race.
All right, thanks.
We'll let Scott get back to his Stay Tuned Sports teammates. He's in a channel there with Jimbo Casterline, among others. Of course, Jimbo is Mr. Stay Tuned Sports, and I promised myself I wouldn't mention this last week in the opening round of the season, just because I know that there was probably some wounds still, Andre, that the Eagles lost in the Super Bowl. And I know Jimbo, of course, being up there as a Philadelphia Eagle himself, I'm sure he was a little bit sore about that loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But as a Cowboys fan myself, I was rooting for the red team. I'll be perfectly honest with that. But nonetheless, Jimbo and Stay Tuned Sports on board again this season. If you have not checked out Stay Tuned Sports yet, there is a link to their Podbean in the description, so you can listen to their podcast right there, get their most recent one, subscribe. You get to listen to all of them, and of course, they have some really cool things going on right now. They're starting to get some sponsors. They're really starting to get the ball rolling a little bit more year after year, and got to give a huge shout out to Jimbo Casterline, the man himself, in tonight's field. And currently just looking at the starting lineup, Andre, Jimbo's going to have to pass quite a few cars, currently sitting 22nd on the qualifying charts.
Yeah, he's got a few cars to pass, but we'll see. I think he's got a good shot at it. I think this kind of track maybe suits him a little bit, and you got to admire it. You know, I feel like in today's day and age, it's kind of difficult to get a podcast rolling just because of, how many podcasts there are out there. I think everybody and their brothers probably started a podcast and then let it fade away. Cough, cough, totally not me. But, Jimbo, he's stuck with it, and he's really got his name out there. It's been growing, like you said, and it's just getting better all the time. And kind of same could be said with his experience here on iRacing. I know last year he was kind of new to the whole oval racing thing and kind of new to iRacing. And it seems like every week he learned a little bit more. And I think this season we're going to see some more good things out of him because he just seems like the kind of guy that's willing to, put in the work, learn what needs to be done, watch the competition, figure it out. And, I think we're going to see him pass a few cars out there.
Well, speaking of passing cars out there, passing is done in the race session, and cars are starting to line up out there in front of the flagman. There is a flagman, and Andre, I think it's time for us to bring up tonight's starting lineup for the Schue's Lawn Service 301, presented by FatalConcepts.com. Starting on the pole, we just had a word with him, Scott Crump. He doesn't think tires are going to wear off. We'll see if that is true or not as the track rubbers in. David Buell will be rolling off alongside him. Jason Gracias, former series champion, we mentioned a little while ago, starting third. Fred Lester, great qualifying run for him in fourth. Nathan Maurer, our reigning series champion, rolling off from the inside of row number 3. He needs a big night here tonight. Daytona did not go the 971's way. Adam Newton will be starting 7th. I think I mentioned Philip Scott. I don't know, a short-term memory loss there, but Adam Newton in 7th, Matt Cherry in 8th. Keep our eyes on Matt Cherry. He's very aggressive, and he is good at this racetrack. Justin White, Brandon King, rounding out our top 10, Andre.
just outside of the top 10, you got Jason Freeman, and then a rare sight, both the Tesoro brothers outside of the top 10. Julian Tesoro is going to roll off 12 outside row 6. Stephen Lashinsky, he was on the pole for just a moment at the beginning of qualifying, got bumped back a little bit down to 13th. Tristan Maher, the Daytona winner, is going to be rolling out 14th. Behind them, you got Josh Smith and Dominic Tesoro in that 69 machine, going to be 15 and 16. 17 and 18 goes to Jason Schue and Bryce Hunter. Running out your top 20 is going to be John Flamian, Filet Mignon himself. It's going to be 19th, and then Vinny Valvano, P20.
And running out your field here tonight, Paul Bilson in 21st, Jimbo Casterline 22nd, Jeff Bryce rolling off from the 23rd position. Keep your eyes on him. I'm sure he'll be moving forward. Garrett Gleason rounding out our 24 truck field that we have on hand here tonight. iRacing pace car about to head down onto pit road. Andre getting set to go green flag racing here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Scott Crump, green flag waves. We're racing at Vegas.
And Scott told us his goal is going to be to defend the inside, and he's doing a pretty good job of it by getting that jump, getting out and away, not letting them get side by side, or even maybe potentially getting around him. All he's got to do is hold that line down as low as he can. It's going to be an easy thing to do in 1 and 2, but again, remember, 3 and 4 is a little bit slicker down low, so he may have to run about half a lane up here, which is going to give somebody an opportunity to make a crazy move if they really want to. But he's going to hold that bottom line. He's going to lead the first lap of the race. Jason Gracias looking to stick his nose up high, gets a really good run out of turn 4. He's going to be right on the bed of that number 8 truck, trying to find a way around.
Yeah, Gracias going to go up to the top side here, side by side, through turns number 1 and 2. Gracias just getting that momentum up off the corner. He's won many races here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series, trying to get another W here tonight. Still side by side, Crump trying to lead the second lap of the night, but Gracias trying to say otherwise. A caution flag waves, and not sure. See if something might have happened to Filet Mignon back in the field. John Flamian, Andre. Let's see if we can dial up our first 3-wide TV replay of the night.
Yeah, that was pretty quick. We didn't quite catch it, so the replay should do a good job filling us in here. The 38 definitely has some right front damage. I noticed that right away, so just have to decipher exactly what transpired to this Looney Tunes throwback paint scheme. I noticed that as well.
Yeah, just having to
on the old replay.
Yeah, just having to dial it up. Something actually happened, believe it or not, to last week's race winner, our winner from Daytona. It didn't come up in my my software, but looks like Stephen Lashinsky might have pushed up the racetrack a little bit into Maher. Maher just kissing the wall, and then Flamian right there almost clobbering the number 17. Let's see if we can get another look at that one, maybe from a slightly different angle. But unfortunately, last week's race winner, Tristan Maher, in a little bit of trouble here early on. You see Lashinsky push up. Not sure if he got arrow tight there, Andre, but the 17 just kissing that outside wall.
Yeah, I think he just got a little tight, and there may have been a little bit of net code involved in that, too. It didn't really look like they made contact, but I got to give props to the 38. Flamian did a pretty good job avoiding him for the rate of speed he was going. I mean, he came through that corner pretty much wide open, and generally when that happens, you can't really change lanes. But he was able to kind of get up high, just maybe scraped him, if anything, and then he was able to get that car stopped before it reached the outside wall. So I don't imagine we're going to see anybody come down pit road unless they got damage from that incident. We do have that competition caution coming on lap 20, which is not that far away, so it'd be kind of pointless to give up track position now. But what this does is it gives the number 8 another shot. Now he knows that, hey, maybe defending the bottom line isn't the only thing we need to do, because what if they come from the top lane, which is exactly what Jason Gracias was trying to do, and he was, I think, pretty close to making that pass when that caution came out. So they're going to rack him and stack him. The number 8 knows what Gracias is up to. Maybe he can kind of reformulate that defense plan to prevent that from happening. Yeah,
hopefully those iRacing pace truck lights are off so we can get back to that action. And yeah, sure enough, iRacing Pace Truck lights do turn off, so that's good news. Just checking out the chat, we had Garrett Gleason a little while ago, one of our 3Y TV Pit Crew members. If you want to become a 3Y TV Pit Crew member yourself, it's $1 a month, custom emotes. You can spam them in the chat. We don't mind. Of course, maybe not 100% spam them, but hey, for $1 a month, you can become a Pit Crew member. We really appreciate those are the folks that help make 3Y TV what it is. Garrett Gleason, one of those. Flamin' Gaming in the chat saying let's go number 38, as well as Pier 44 in the chat as well, saying let's go Gracias, and Freeman rooting on the Jasons here tonight. Jason Gracias currently running second, and Jason Freeman a little bit further back, just inside the top 10. So we'll see once we go back green flag here. Andre, I'm just wondering, you know, that inside line was fairly strong there right off the get-go. Jason Gracias, in fact, jumped from third to second. Nate Maurer actually, I think, jumped up a couple of spots as well from fifth to third. Now we got to see, can the outside line stay strong on the first lap? It looked strong after a lap or two once they got wound up, but let's see if that outside line can stay strong here on this restart. Looks like Scott Crump on the loud pedal. Green flag waves again, and Gracias didn't get a great start, but I think he got a good enough start that he could jump down in front of Nate Maurer. You got to think there, Andre, that yeah, okay, Gracias didn't get a great start, but Maurer got an even worse start. But it looks like they kind of string things out 1, 2, 3 for right now. The number 29 of Adam Newton up there, but things getting a little bit dicey here on this restart.
I think our leader got a little bit loose coming out of turn 2, which is kind of surprising because I don't think you're quite up to speed even at that point. So I'm not sure what got him sideways, but it did open the door for Gracias to get right up to him. Going back to that restart, you're right. I think a lot of these guys did get restarts that were just good enough. With the draft, you don't necessarily need to be right on the guy ahead, but a little bit of separation early on is kind of surprising. But a pass for the lead. Jason Gracias gets his way down to that bottom lane. Big smoke coming off the right front, I believe, of the 29, Adam Newton. Not sure what was going on there. But while these guys are slowing themselves down doing that, we got our two leaders driving away with it. Gracias now under attack. Look at that. The number 8 goes through the grass, Peter. Not once, but twice to get back down on the bottom. He is not giving this up easy.
No, they're fighting tooth and nail for the race lead. It looks like it's the last lap here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but no, this is only lap number 8. They're almost trading paint down the backstretch.
They are slamming doors. It is lap 8. We've got a competition caution in 12 laps. Somebody get on these guys' radio and tell them that.
There are points on the line when we do get to that stage break. So these drivers do understand that, you know, you got to finish strong. You got to get those points. But look, Fred Lester now starting to creep back into the picture as those front two have been leaning on one another. That's allowed Lester, Adam Newton, Brandon King and company to start closing that gap. Meanwhile, Nathan Maurer did not have a great restart. He dropped from third back to sixth now. And back behind him, David Buell has lost quite a few spots from the drop of the green flag. Qualified second, now back to seventh. But here we are, lap number 10, still side by side. Scott Crump gonna get his truck out in front. Gracias gonna try and cut back underneath them. Wow, big block there by Scott Crump.
I don't know if that was a block or if that was the number 1 just kind of following him, but nonetheless, the number 1 kind of lost some momentum off of that. That opened the door for Lester, who, as you mentioned, has been charging his way up through the running order to get into a second place potentially here. If he can hold the bottom, does seem to be the stronger line, just like Crump predicted at the moment at least. Now, when the tires wear, we might see the top line get a little bit better. But, man, that bottom is so strong. Oh, the 48 gets 2 tires on the paint, gets a little bit squirrely, chases it up the track right in front of the number 1. So, I mean, that number 1, I think he's looked at the tailgate of these trucks more than he's looked at the actual pavement in front of him. He has been right on these guys' bumpers, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. But he's going to get stuck on the high line. And just like we talked about in qualifying and just like the number 8 mentioned in his interview, you get trapped on that high line, you're going to be going in the wrong direction. And so far, Gracias has dropped 6, now 7 positions from where he was as Lester is trying to hunt down our leader. As you mentioned, points on the line for this stage. But really get as aggressive as the number 1, because let me tell you, that number 8 Scott Crump, he wants these points. He wasn't just side drafting, Peter. He was advanced side drafting.
Yeah, looks like finally Jason Gracias going to drop down to 10th. Absolutely snowballing right now for our former series champion, but still Scott Crump leading the way. Fred Lester in second. One thing that's interesting to note, Andre, they only have 3 sets of tires on pit road here tonight. Here comes Brandon King, the number 55, looking to the inside of Fred Lester. He's got a nose there, but going back to my point, they're going to have a little bit of tire strategy play out here tonight, I do believe, with the limited number of tires that they have on pit road. So we'll see exactly how that all plays out. We did hear from Scott Crump that tire wear didn't seem to be a huge factor, but if you run out a fresh set of tires too early, you and I know that can definitely be costly. Brandon King, though, I'm just looking up and down the scoring pylon, Andre, plus 8 positions. This number 55 has been on a tear, currently tied with Julian Tesoro, who's worked his way up into 4th in that number 92. You see him there kind of on the right side of the shot. The white and black truck, he's also gained 8, and his brother Dominic Tesoro has also picked up 8 spots. Jeff Price, the only other truck to pick up 8 spots. No one's picked up more than 8, but we've got 4 trucks that have done so, and it is a battle now up at the front of the field as we move just 5 laps from the stage caution here in a little bit. Brandon King trying to get a little bit of fresh air on the nose, get a little bit of additional downforce on the front of his Toyota Tundra as he is really starting to march towards Scott Crump. 5 laps till that break.
5 laps, but I'll tell you what, it's going to feel like forever if you're the number 8, because he's been under attack constantly this whole run. Just when one driver fades, another one's going to stage their offense. As the 55 of King now looking to get to the outside, he is going to have to deal with the aggressive side drafting from the number 8, because Scott is not going to give anybody this position, not willingly. So he's going to have to figure something out, maybe a little bit of a crossover there. Thought about it, but it wasn't close enough through the tri-oval. It is lap 17, so we are going to be 4 circuits away of this track from the stage at lap 20. 55 now trying to get that run up high, and again, as the tires wear, that high line is going to get faster and faster. The bottom's going to get slower and slower because they're going to have to lift a little bit more. Scott said he didn't feel a whole lot of tire wear, but I'm telling you, once you get beyond lap 20, you're going to see him start to drive this track differently, and that high line is going to be the place to be. 55 just trying to stage that run. Now he's got Tesoro behind him. You mentioned how many positions the Tesoro brothers have gained. I was a little bit surprised in qualifying, like I'd mentioned, that both of those drivers were outside of the top 10. This is the Tesoro brothers that I know, now both inside the top 10, one of them up here on the podium. Maybe going to be able to lend some draft help to the 55. Definitely, I would help anybody but that 8, because that 8 is the man to beat. He's got a rocket ship underneath him, and if you're going to beat him, you're going to need to work with somebody.
Well, I was liking the speed of Brandon King in practice session. He was up near the top of the board, showing that again here in the race, that he's going to be one to battle with all night long. I like his line right now. He's going to be able to keep that foot flat coming out of turn number 2. Tesoro's going to give him a little bit of drafting help. Halfway down the max stretch, Brandon King is going to get his nose out front. What's he going to do here in turn number 3 and 4? He's going to stay on the high side. We're coming to 1 lap until the stage break. Those points on the line. Crump's fighting back once again. They're coming to the line this time, and it is Brandon King. Tesoro still giving him a little bit of help here. There might have been a little bit of contact there on entry. There was a wiggle out in the back of that number 55, and that might help Scott Crump as we're coming to the stage caution this time by.
Yeah, that's going to stall their momentum a little bit. You got to be careful, can't push too hard, but luckily they had another half a lap to get more momentum built up. But look at this, the 92 is going to abandon the 55, try to make a run at it himself. Contact, the 55 spinning through the tri-oval. Tesoro trying to gather it up as the 55 is becoming a Beyblade. Let's see if he can get this thing gathered up. Don't hit the pit wall. You're good to go. Oh my goodness. Crump wins the stage. And actually right now the scoring and timing showing King ahead, but we know that's not the case. Crump does take the stage win. The 55 left with a little bit of damage. Man, oh man, what a finish there.
Yeah, let's see if we can get this one on the replay. The 92 and the 55 just made a little bit of contact. You see Julian Tesoro going through the grass as well. Not sure where Tesoro was when he crossed the line. Holy smokes, almost took out David Buell there on his return up to the racetrack. Looks like he fell probably to the back half of the top 10, but that was a wild ride, and unfortunately, Brandon King, I'm sure, Andre, he will have received some type of a black flag for going onto pit road, an unsafe pit entry. Not sure if that will get cleared by the National Sim Racing Association officials, but that was just hard racing, points on the line, and unfortunately for two drivers, didn't work out. It didn't exactly end the way they had wanted it to, with the 55 and the 92 ending up spinning on through, but that's going to help out the number 51 and Matt Cherry, as looks like Scott Crump going to lead us on to pit road, working the second caution of the night and the only stage caution of the night, as we potentially could go green flag all the way to the end from here.
And I can confirm that Justin White has heard the pleas of Brandon King. He went ahead and cleared the black flags for entering the closed pits. So unless iRacing, I know some black flags on iRacing, even when you clear them, you have to serve some sort of minor penalty. But as far as clearing the black flags, the 55 should be all right. And he's going to be able to get back out there. The only thing he's got to focus on is getting that damage fixed, because he did get quite a bit of damage to that left rear, especially in the spoiler. And with these trucks, if you get that spoiler bent up in the air in any way, it kind of feels like a parachute has been deployed and your top speed does suffer. So hopefully he can get that fixed up, as it looks like Matt Cherry actually wins the race off pit road. And we had a little bit, oh, what happened there? This was getting on pit road. The 19 comes to a complete stop, causes a bit of an accordion effect to the trucks behind. I'm gonna use a phrase from a buddy of mine over at the 100% Cup Series, Peter. That was a thing.
Yeah, that was a thing. We'll see if we can dial up the 3-wide TV blimp. He just ended up. I mean, dominoes on pit road. I really don't know. And then the 19 tried to come back to his stall. Jason Gracias is retired. That number 1 must have given up the ghost. Let's see if, let's get another look. Yeah, just stopped. I have no idea why he just stopped. And looks like the 17 getting damage. A couple of other people getting damage from that mess. You see the 92, Julian Tesoro got damage. And it looks like the 00, Paul Bilson got damage. I really don't know why that happened. It just a couple of trucks coming together there on pit road.
So I do have the driver radio enabled, and I can at least relay what I am kind of piecing together happened here. The 19 had to let somebody by, as per iRacing under pacing, it said to let somebody behind him get ahead. And he was afraid that if he entered the pits ahead of him, he was going to get a penalty. I don't know how he thought slamming the brakes at the commitment cone was the better alternative. But that is why he slowed down. iRacing was telling him to let somebody by, and then, of course, I don't think anybody expected that, because why would they? And that caused all kinds of issues. And it does look like the number 1 had significant engine damage, which is probably why he quit. And it was a minor hit. It didn't look like it was a very hard impact, but you know as well as I do, Peter, the trucks in this simulator, sometimes if you just hit them just right where the radiator would sit in the front, it does a ton of damage.
Yeah, tough break for one of our former series champions. Also looks like the number 13 of Josh Smith has also retired from tonight's race. I'm not sure why the number 13 has elected to come down pit road, but we know what happened to Jason Gracias. Philip Scott, also a long pit stop for him to fix quite a bit of damage accrued in that incident on pit road. Brandon King in the number 55, we saw what happened to him. He had an extended stay on pit road. Bryce Hunter stayed on pit road to get some of that damage repaired from when he stopped right there and got hit from behind. Looks like Paul Bilson, long stop. Julian Tesoro, long stop. So a lot of extended pit stops. Vincent Valvano, Tristan Maher as well. And really all those trucks were trucks that were involved in that little scuffle there. So probably, hopefully that's the only contact we see here tonight. Not gonna not going to hold myself to that statement. I don't know. We still have 100 laps to go, Andre. Plenty of time to see a little bit more contact between these drivers. But shuffle up at the front of the field on pit road. The number 8 machine has dropped back, and I think Scott Crump elected to use his first set of tires. But the front 7 or so drivers, Andre, they elected to take fuel only. So we'll see how that shakes out as the night goes on. We mentioned they have limited tire sets, and that always plays a little bit of strategy here in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series as Matt Cherry gets us back to the green flag and heads off towards turn number 1. Front 4 breaking away a little bit. David Buell leading the next herd of trucks, but it will be just a couple of laps, and the draft will pull them back together, I'm sure.
Yeah, if they have 3 sets of tires, that's really only 1 spare set, because you're going to need at least 2 to get to the end of that 125. Then you've got that 3rd to use at your discretion. And I think these guys probably learned from Daytona that things are going to get a little bit crazier towards the end. Maybe some of them are planning for a late race caution. And if that happens, if you're the guy that's got an extra set of tires, that is a huge, huge advantage. So you don't want to use them too early. And it's kind of interesting to me that the guy who said, tire wear's not that bad, well, he was one of the only drivers in that stop to actually take tires 20 laps in. So I don't know if he's changing his tune or if he feels that tire wear is so insignificant that he doesn't mind using them early on. It could go either way. But, I mean, that's the advantage. That right there, Peter. How many cars did he just pass in 1 lap? Nearly going to lead this one. Will he lead this? Yes, he will. Scott Crump to the lead in 1 single lap on those fresh tires.
Yeah, I think he restarted 7th or 8th. And already to the front of the field. And that was even with a not-so-great restart. So, I think that's enough to say that tires do matter here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So that is going to be something we'll be keeping our eyes on, and the different strategies of tire usage amongst these drivers going to make things fun as the night goes on. Do want to check out the chat. Bob Giaquinto in the chat. He was saying that a bunch of trucks got damaged. Yeah, a bunch of trucks, unfortunately, did get damaged in that kerfuffle right there on entry of pit road. Johnny Williams also joining. Hello, Johnny. Hope all is well with you. Saw your news a couple of weeks ago. Hope that everything is going well with you, buddy, and, of course, your family as well. Got some side-by-side action mid-pack right here. David Buell on the high side. Jason Freeman in the number 20. Mason Dixon Cornhole Chevrolet there on the inside line, pushing up just a little bit. Jeff Price back behind him, and I mentioned, keep your eyes on Jeff Price. Absolute terrible qualifying run, but Jeff has now broken the top 10, and just right there around Tristan Maher. Steven Lashinsky, we thought about maybe going 3 wide there. Are we going to go 3 wide here? Coming out of turn number 4, they got mighty tight. This is some good close battles just around the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, I understood it when there was points on the line for the stage, but now, there's no points on the line, and they're still racing hard. You gotta love it. This has been a great show so far, 31 laps in, and it's just been battle after battle. There's the 38. We saw him involved in that first caution. He's gained a few positions, passed a few trucks. Now going on board with that number 14, Jeff Price. You said at the top of the broadcast you expected to see him pick up some position. He started dead last on the field. Well, there you go, right inside the top 10 now, still making up some ground. So at 14, looking pretty solid tonight. He looked good at Daytona too, and I think he's kind of carrying some of that momentum. Now the 52 going to check him up a little bit as the 17 sans a door number with all that paint that's been scraped off. He's going to make a high line pass up into 8th after his scuffle there at the start of the race. Here comes the 69, the low side of the 52, trying to maybe make a move on Price as well. Do they go 3 wide? Price going to throw a big block, but not quite enough room to do it. He's got to allow the 69 down there, but then he's able to get clear regardless. Now the 38 getting hungry again, maybe trying to see what he can do. And a lot of this, Peter, is just these guys got to watch the trucks in front of them. And if they open the door even a little bit, just a skosh, you got to send it in there, because otherwise you're not making your way through this pack.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to take those opportunities when they're given to you. Now, here's an interesting situation. Up at the front of the field, Scott Crump has been able to put 1.2 almost 1.3 seconds now on Matt Cherry. Remember, Cherry did not take tires, but as I say that, here comes Steven Lashinsky to take second spot from Matt Cherry. But I was going to say that Cherry's still kind of holding his own up there towards the front of the pack, so maybe that strategy going to work out for him. He loses another spot here to the number 55 of Brandon King, who, Andre, I am very shocked about Brandon King. Remember, he was turned around, spun around there going through the grass, and he has charged through this field after this restart, now running with the number 9, battle for second here as we work lap number 35, almost clipping the outside wall there. That was mighty close, but good recovery for the number 55 machine. Now, a little bit further back, this is the battle amongst these drivers. Jeff Price, Tristan Maher, this is for a top 5 position. As you see, the field maybe getting a little bit strung out, but a good battle nonetheless here, as Tristan Maher, last week's race winner, and was involved in that first caution. You see that left side damage. Andre, it looks like the number 17 Ford is pretty resilient here tonight, as he's got quite a bit of pace left even after that contact.
Yeah, that's kind of the case for a lot of stock cars on iRacing at the moment. iRacing has been tweaking the damage model. I think ultimately they're just working towards getting the new damage model, TM, on all of the stock cars. But in the meantime, things are kind of wonky at the moment. The next-gen car, for example, I commentated a race last week at Daytona where one of the cars pretty much nosed it into the outside wall full speed, and then was able to stay in the draft after the race restarted. So damage is actually kind of reduced at the moment on iRacing in some cases. So the 17 being able to keep with the pack, that doesn't surprise me, but the 99, Philip Scott, seems to have a bit of nose damage, and unlike the 17, I think it may be holding him up. I'm not sure if that was from the pit road incident, maybe, Peter?
Yeah, that was from the pit road incident, and unfortunately for Philip Scott and Julian Tesoro, those two trucks, well, they can say they're very much the opposite of Tristan Maher. Those two trucks are very, 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 very wounded and well off the pace right now, as both of those trucks have very quickly fallen a lap down since that restart just a little while ago. So really, really going to be a long night for Philip Scott and Julian Tesoro, as we're just now working lap number 39. Here is the battle for the 5th position. Currently it is held by the 69 of Dominic Tesoro, faring a lot better than his brother so far. But he's got Tristan Maher behind him, then Vincent Valvano, who's had a pretty good recovery himself, and then John Flamian in the number 38, sitting there in 8th. A couple of these trucks looking for a good finish here tonight. Of course, Maher trying to win back-to-back after that momentous win last week's in the Coleman's Care 250 at Daytona. I'm just seeing if we got any more side-by-side action around the racetrack. Not seeing a whole lot. But Andrea, this is going to be kind of interesting. I'm just keeping my eyes on a couple of those drivers, like the 51 of Matt Cherry, who only took fuel under that last caution. The highest placed driver at this moment in time is Adam Newton in the number 29 machine. Is a little bit of right side smoke off the 00, I think that was, of Paul Bilson. There he is, running in 9th. But right behind him is Adam Newton, that first driver who did not take tires under that last pit stop. But another thing to note, Andre, versus last week at Daytona, is these trucks actually have more fuel in them than they did at Daytona. They only had a half tank at Daytona. Here tonight, running a 75% tank. So I think that means we're going to have at least one more green flag pit stop, maybe 2, if of course we go green flag here to the end of the race. And I'm just getting word that Julian Tesoro has come down onto pit road. It might be day done for the number 92 Chevrolet.
But the jack stand is going up, so I don't know if maybe he just is coming to get some more damage repaired. If something's going on there, he may try to rejoin. Typically, if they just climb out of the car right away, the jack doesn't go up. But we'll see. It is going to be interesting. Now, you mentioned the 75% fuel capacity. Just doing some guesstimations based on how far you can go on a full tank, I'd say they're looking at a fuel window of about 40 to 45 laps with their 75% capacity. So going from lap 20, yeah, that's going to be about 2 stops if I'm right. So we may see them have to come down pit road under green if this race continues the way that it's continued. If it stays caution free, that's going to be interesting in and of itself, because, man, the transition to the banking, or to the apron from the banking, is not always easy. I've seen a lot of drivers for some reason really struggle with this pit road entrance, myself included, compared to some of the other 1.5 miles. So we'll see how they handle that. But going back to Newton in that 29, first driver to only take fuel, did not take any tires whatsoever. I like that strategy. That's a nothing to lose strategy. If Newton felt like he didn't have the truck to win this race, and he just felt like there's no way I'm going to beat Crump or Leshinsky or King on speed, then you know what? I can get him on strategy. Because if this race does get a late caution, if we're 10 to go and caution comes out, after these guys have already taken their spare sets, and you got guys like Newton that say, well, I've had the ace up my sleeve this whole time, I've had this extra set of tires, that pretty much guarantees a great finish. So if it plays out, great. If it doesn't, well, he's still got a top 10 truck.
Yeah, that is for sure. Got to get those strong finishes. I've just been doing a little bit of math, a little bit of calculations on my end, Andre, and based on the at least the amount of laps we were seeing last week at Daytona, which was about 15 or so laps until they absolutely had to come down pit road. Oh, Scott Crump having some connection issues. I think they're going to be in the ballpark of about 38 to 40 laps. Now, of course, we've had some caution laps, so that's going to help. But leaders were last on pit road on lap number 22. So let's do the math. 22 plus 38. Yeah, a couple of caution laps. Let's say 40. That will get them to lap number 62. And if they can get to lap number 62, another 40 or so would get them to 102, which would definitely get them into the realm of making it all the way on fuel. So I'd expect to see 2 green flag pit stops at the very least to make it to the end of the race here tonight. And of course, if we do get those green flag pit stops, we'll see which of these drivers can make it onto pit road without having any issues. Andre, we saw a lot of pit road speeding penalties last week at Daytona and, of course, in the duels as well. And this is not an easy pit road to get onto.
No, it's absolutely not. Like I said, the transition from the banking down to the apron is pretty severe in and of itself. And then you just take into account the fact that there's really no rubber down there. It's just a lot of marbles and dust. I've seen drivers struggle there. But if we have those 2 green flag stops and the race continues the way it continues, presuming our leaders take tires on both those stops, that's it. They're out of tires. When they take their lap 102 pit stop and they take their 4 tires, that'll be it. And whereas drivers like Newton, well, he's going to have a set waiting around behind that wall should we get a caution between laps 102 and 125. So just an interesting dynamic we got going on here. I like tire limits. They kind of create this sort of drama that's definitely fun to watch. And I'm surprised at how well Newton is doing. I mean, he's only 7 seconds back from our leader, Peter. I think we're at the point where Crump's tires, Leshinsky's tires, they're starting to hit that tire wear plateau where his lap times are kind of evening out with Newton's. And in the time period where Crump's tires were better and he was turning faster laps, Newton only fell 7 seconds back. That's not a whole lot. So that 29 is pretty fast.
Yeah, and we have seen over the seasons that if Adam Newton can keep his truck clean, he's really good at saving tires, especially on these 1.5 miles. I think a couple of seasons back, it was at Kansas that that number 29 was just very, 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 very quick until late race problems. So he definitely knows how to keep the tires underneath him, and that's going to play to his advantage, especially if we get some opportune cautions later on in the race, like you mentioned, with that extra set on pit road. But just keeping my eyes on the lap count, we're probably about 9, maybe 13 or so, somewhere in that range, 9 to 13 laps away from green flag pit stops. But here's a driver having a really good run here tonight, Andre. That's the number 18 right there, Jimbo Casterline, trying to knock on the door of a top 10. Got a new look this season with the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast F-150, as looks like Nate Maurer trying to take that position from him. Got Matt Cherry hot on his heels as well, but so far so good for Jimbo Casterline. I know we usually have Alicia in the chat, so if you're in the chat here tonight joining us on 3 Wide TV, would love to see, just checking on the chat. Been a little bit quiet here for a little bit, but let us know who you're rooting on. We, of course, got a couple of Jason Freeman, Jason Gracias fans in the chat, but whoa, Jimbo, that's...
Hold on to her, Uncle Jimbo.
Oh, boy, that number
What a
18
scene.
got the camera on him, maybe feeling the pressure of the 3-wide TV camera, but Jimbo able to keep that truck pointed in the right direction. There's your race leader, number 8 of Scott Crump. However, he is not feeling the pressure right now because he's 2.6 seconds up the road from Steven Lashinsky. So far, able to continue to pad that race lead. Lashinsky there and Brandon King kind of lockstep with one another, about a second up the road from the number 69 of Dominic Tesoro, who has gained 12 spots from the drop the green flag. Only Vincent Valvano and Paul Bilson have gained more positions here tonight. We did see, at least a little while ago, a couple of names with quite a few positions gained, like Jeff Price, and Jeff's still sitting in 5th. He has 18 position gained, so our biggest mover right there, the number 14. But Tristan Maher still right behind him, having a good race after Daytona last week and that early race incident that we've highlighted a little while ago. If you're just now joining us, we had a caution inside the opening 10 laps that involved that number 17. Made a little bit of contact with the outside wall as well, but able to still have quite a bit of pace. But I say that currently just about 5 seconds behind Scott Crump. Is I see a battle for second starting to break out. I think I did, Andre. Here we go. Steven Lashinsky has it. Brandon King wants it.
And we know that 55 is really fast. Again, he was spinning through the infield, dropping positions like crazy when that caution came out on lap 20, and he immediately raced his way back up to the podium. So if you're the number 9, you got to be a little bit worried about the speed this 55 has. We'll have to wait and see if he can make the pass. We're kind of at the point where these trucks are not handling the best. They've been on this run for almost 30 laps now, so the tires start to get away from them. The handling's starting to fade, and behind him you got this other pack of cars, 3 trucks trying to work together, maybe merge into this battle for second. We'll see if they can do that. But Lashinsky's been pretty consistent all night long. Even when he's under attack, even when he's got a lot of drivers trying to take what he has, he's been consistent. Lap times have not been fluctuating all that much, and overall, just doing a good job. And as I'm watching these guys race around the track, I'm just reminded another reason I love Las Vegas. This track surface is not smooth, not by any means. And these trucks are really getting thrown around. It kind of reminds me of watching older NASCAR races from the 90s and the early 2000s, back when the cars didn't have back when they weren't sealed to the ground. They didn't stay really low. They were kind of up in the air, had a higher ride height, and you could see them bouncing whenever they'd go down the straightaway, whenever they'd get into the corner. You'd see that suspension squat down. You're kind of seeing that with these trucks here just because of how rough this track is. And it just shows you how these guys are having to manhandle these trucks around the circuit.
Oh, we got some problems coming down pit road. And, I think that was the 55 of Brandon King had problems getting onto pit road as green flag pit stops breaking out. Let's see if we can go and see what happened to some of these drivers. Sorry about the connection issues. We're going to have to try and sort those out, but the 55 came onto pit road. Looks like Dominic Tesoro there, top of your screen as well, into the inside wall. The 55 kind of seesawing back and forth, and then he came up, almost getting into Paul Bilson. Still problems getting to pit road. Let's jump back live. But looks like this 55 going to have a long stay on pit road due to getting a pit road violation for that sketchy pit road entry. But Scott Crump, looks like he got on pit road, got off pit road nice and cleanly, Andre, as we're about 3 laps away from seeing the cross flags. David Buell led another group, or is leading another group onto pit road. Fred Lester in his pit box, Nate Maurer, Adam Newton, Matt Cherry, Jason Schue. But folks, do want to apologize for the connection issues. For some reason, Andre, just got a new service provider in this new home that I'm in, and it seems like I'm unable to share my screen with you. And I know, I say that. I know Discord's been playing around with streaming as well. So I don't know. Might have to see if I can do something a little bit different there. But we'll try. We'll do a couple things in the background. But at least for right now, Scott Crump, as we cycle through, up to a 3.5 second lead over Tristan Maher. So a little bit of benefit for Maher, as he has, I think, jumped from about 4th or 5th where we last left him, rather. Now running second with the issues for the number 55 and the number 69. Dominic Tesoro dropping well down the running order, down to 19th, but still on the lead lap with his nose into the inside wall. And Brandon King is now running in 17th, well down the running order, but still plenty of time for them to make up a little bit of ground. But pretty much everyone came down pit road pretty much on cue. I think lap number 58 to lap number 60 was kind of when I thought people would come down pit road, and sure enough, that happened, Andre.
Yep, just as we kind of planned, we're going to pretend that we're always right in the booth and that this is a normal thing, that we're just, dead on the money. Happens all the time. We nailed it. But everybody, other than those speed drivers you kind of highlighted, had the stops they needed to have. The number 8, like you said, got in clean, got out clean. And that's what you need to do. If it's going to stay green and you're not going to have any cautions to rely on, you can't really afford to make any mistakes. So as long as you can have a consistent stop, even if you're not maybe necessarily the fastest down into pit road or the fastest on pit road exit, if you can just have a clean entry and exit and not get yourself any penalties, not wreck yourself trying to get in or out, that's going to do wonders for your efforts later on. But Maher still P2. Lashinsky is going to be 3rd. Jeff Price up to 4th. As I'm going to pull your stream back up, I can see you got it back up there in the Discord. I was kind of going off the YouTube feed before. But yeah, no, pretty solid pit sequence, although it did spread the field out. And now these guys are going to be kind of dealing with, I think, different handling, Peter. I mean, these guys were pretty much in a pack, and now they're separated. There's a lot of separation, so the aero is going to feel different with these trucks. They're going to be a little bit, I would say, freer through the corner, which is something they're going to have to adapt to. But in the meantime, looks like some of these cars are catching up to one another. Looks like Lashinsky's closing in on that 17, as is Jeff Price in the 14. The 19's back there as well, although he is a lap down, I believe, due to the issue early on. And looking back a little bit further, the number 2 battling with the 29 for position. Little gaggle of cars here. They're nearly going to go 3 wide. Adam Newton sneaks by on the bottom, says, wham, bam, thank you, bam. I'm going to take that position. Now he's got his eyes set on the truck ahead, so he can't pick up some more positions there. The 51 of Cherry, we were talking about him. He's just holding on to that fifth place position. But he's gonna have a challenger for it here, Peter. These guys are catching up to him.
Yeah, there's some good battles out there on the racetrack right now. Got that battle breaking out between Lashinsky and Jeff Price for 3rd. Again, Jeff Price continuing to show some muscle here tonight after starting deep in the field. But also got that battle back behind him between Bilson Newton, Justin White, and Matt Cherry. And remember, Matt Cherry, Andre still has that extra set of tires on pit road. But this race kind of has a green flag feel to it. The field's kind of broken up. You can see there on the left-hand side of your screen, your top 10 now separated by over 10 seconds from first back to 10. 5 seconds separating Scott Crump and Tristan Maher up at the front of the field. So half of that gap right now is between first and second. Jeff Price making the move on Steven Lashinsky here. This is for 3rd, and Maher's right in front of him. And so, sure enough, Jeff Price plus another spot. He's now gained 20 positions since the drop of the green flag. Very impressive. The Back Channel Productions Chevy Silverado. Got Craftsman on the banner there. And, of course, Andre, we talked about this last week at Daytona. Great to have Craftsman back as the sponsor, the title sponsor of the Craftsman Truck Series, as it should be. That rolls off the tongue so well. That's how it should roll off the tongue. Shouldn't be no Camping World, or wasn't there another one in there that they renamed it something for a season or two when Camping World changed their name.
Yeah, it wasn't Camping World. Oh, what was it? It was the oh my goodness, it was like 6 letters in the acronym. I can't even remember what it was, but it was terrible. But you're right, Craftsman Truck Series just rolls off the tongue. And of course, if you grew up watching NASCAR in the early 2000s like I did, then that's kind of what the truck says. It's probably what you've been calling it for the last 20 years. It's just sort of like people still call it Nationwide, or wait, it's not Nationwide, is it? It's Xfinity. Just like people call Xfinity the Busch Series still. I feel like once the title sponsor sticks around long enough, people just kind of associate it with that. And then, you got like Camping World moving in. And I mean, I don't know anybody that ever called it the Camping World Truck Series with any amount of a straight face. But Craftsman's back. It's nice to see. And we got them big red banners on the front. So that is awesome. But this battle for position here is really starting to get a little intense here. The 14 was able to get ahead of Lashinsky. Lashinsky took that position back, and now they're both trying to get around the Daytona winner, Tristan Maher, in that 17. Tristan trying to back up his Daytona win with another good finish here. And again, you don't have to win every race. You just have to make sure you have a good amount of good points days, and second place for Maher would not be a bad points day after getting the win at Daytona. So he's going to want to try to close in on this podium finish, but he's going to have to fend off the number 9, the number 14 to do so. And the number 19, a bit of a wild card in this battle. Again, not for position, but definitely a deciding factor here. Whoever he decides to go with, whoever he gives the draft to, is going to have a much better shot at gaining a position here. So who does he go with?
Yeah, just got to, ride this one out for right now. But lap count continuing to click away. Andre, we're almost down to 50 laps to go here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Just looking up and down the scoring pylon, this is another good battle for position right back behind him. Matt Cherry leading this little gaggle of trucks. Got, of course, 51. Matt Cherry, Adam Newton, Paul Bilson, and Justin White. So 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th right there on your screen. Then a little bit further back behind them, there's Fred Lester and Nate Maurer, our former series champion here. David Buell just outside the top 10 in 11th. Then Vincent Valvano by himself. Jason Freeman. Not sure if Jason had problems on pit road. I think, honestly, this might actually be a side effect of that pit sequence strategy, or that strategy to save an extra set of tires. I think it's kind of got Jason Freeman behind the 8 ball just a little bit, running right down there in 13th position in the Mason-Dixon cornhole, because he was one of those trucks, I believe, at that the second caution flag where we had the stage break. He only took fuel, and I think he's still trying to recover from that. But a tough break for him. We're going to need some caution flags to catch up, but let's jump back to the second place battle as Tristan Maher's been able to gain a little bit more time on Scott Crump, but for right now, still continuing to lead the second place group of cars. You see also the number 19, Bryce Hunter, first struck 1 lap down, kind of at the back of this group. But I don't know, Andre, things starting to kind of calm down a little bit. Looks like maybe Maher able to get a truck length or two on Lashinsky, at least for now.
Yeah, he's able to kind of be clear into second here, about a truck length, like you said. It's going to close in on the straightaways. Of course, the draft's going to bring them together, but the 17's got a lot of really good center speed through the corner, and that's allowing him to kind of maintain this position. A little bit further back, there's the number 29. You mentioned that perhaps some of those drivers who took that fuel-only strategy were kind of behind the game a little bit because of it. Well, you say that, then you look at Adam Newton in 6th place. He was on the exact same strategy. Here he is knocking on the door of the top 5. He's right behind Matt Cherry. If he can make that move, he's going to break into the top 5. So that would be quite something to be able to race your way back up into 5th, still have an extra set of tires to spare. He's looking at a pretty solid position right now. And a little bit further back, you've got Bilson, you've got Justin White, you got Lester, who really had a fast truck early on in this race, and then after that first pit sequence, he got shuffled back and hasn't quite recovered. But if he could get back up front, man, I wouldn't count him out. Just needs maybe a caution, like you said. Nate Maurer, one of the drivers who, I I think Nate was involved in a little minor scuffle earlier, if my memory serves, but he's still in the top 10, trying to cling on to position there. As
Caution!
Whoa!
Caution flag has come out. Maybe something to do with Dominic Tesoro. Let's see if we can figure out maybe what happened here to the number 69. But caution flag waves for only the third time here tonight. It has not been a great night for the Tesoro brothers. Here we go, 3-wide TV replay coming out of turn number 4, the 69 of Dominic Tesoro. Oh, contact with John Flamian. And the 69 goes for a big spin. Let's see if we can get another replay of that one. As get one more replay, and then something might. Woo! There we go. We're still going backwards. We're still going backwards. Here we go. They were right behind the leader, Scott Crump, in the number 8 machine, as they were, I guess, one lap down or had just gone a lap down and battling for the lucky dog. And ouch, that's some pretty hefty contact with the outside wall for both of those drivers. And then I heard something might have happened to Scott Crump. Let's see what might have happened here to the number 8 machine. Maybe just slowing down to come down onto pit road. This is kind of interesting. Is pit road open? Is pit road open? Is pit road open? Scott Crump comes to a complete halt on the racetrack. And
what on earth?
That's kind of weird. I guess he's waiting for the iRacing.com pace truck, and the pace truck finally goes by him. But I don't know. You see the red lights there, like pit road is closed, but Jeff Price came down. That is very odd. I just wonder if they were so far ahead of the pace truck that I don't know. But
well, if they were that far away from the pace truck, generally procedure would be to catch up to it and then pit on the next lap. I don't fully understand that at all. That's a strange situation, to say the least, and it did cost Crump some time and position. But now it looks like the number 9 is going to come down pit road again. I believe he was already down once. And then everybody else who didn't pit, obviously because the pace truck was not around, they're going to come down. You got Philip Scott in the 99. He's making his way down pit road. The number 14, Jeff Price. So these 3 drivers going to get their truck serviced. Everybody else still staying on the track. I also want to point out Johnny Williams saving the day in chat. He says it was the Gander Outdoor Series. So yeah, it was. It was the GOTS, Gander Outdoor Truck Series, which if you wanted me to come up with a series title sponsor that rolled off the tongue less, I don't think I could.
yeah, those were dark days. Those were dark days. I really hope the Truck Series has a little bit of resurgence. I recently watched a Truck Series race from 1997, and I have to say there was just something unique about the NASCAR Truck Series, the Craftsman Truck Series in the late 90s. It was just different. It felt like it was marginally commercialized, you know? And it just feels like now the modern Truck Series is so commercialized that the line is blurred between it and Xfinity, and to a certain degree, even the Cup Series. They're kind of all held together to the same standard. But back in the late 90s, I think the standards were so far different from one another that it really made the Truck Series stand out, and definitely made things interesting. But speaking of making things interesting, Andre, just doing the math in my head, right now we are 43 laps rather from seeing the checkered flag. Pace truck lights have turned off. We saw that I think the 52 machine David Buell was able to stretch it 40 laps on fuel under that earlier green flag run that we had and green flag pit stops. But even that wouldn't make it to the end of the race. So unless we start to see some pretty crazy fuel saving here, I think we'll still have to make one more pit stop. And now the question becomes, do you pit after 20 laps? Do you go all the way until you run out? When do you come down pit road here? Because you got a little bit of a strategy call to make and a little bit to gamble, I think, as this race winds down.
Yeah, if I was a driver, I think I would probably pit about 20 laps into the stint. We've not seen that many yellows tonight, and the ones we have seen have kind of been freak deals that you can't necessarily say are going to be replicated. So I'm not sure you'd want to be too worried about saving those tires for like a green-white checkered per se. And if you can come down on 20 laps into the run, you're minimizing the time spent on old tires. And we've already seen the difference between old tires and new tires earlier in the race when Crump was one of the few drivers to take all four. I mean, he went from 7th to 1st in a single lap, so it makes a big difference. You don't want to stay on those tires any longer than necessary. As a green flag flies, Crump gets out to the lead, and the battle for second between Bilson, Maher, and Cherry is erupting once again. But you never know. Maybe
contact, big wreck, backstretch. It is Paul Bilson hard in the inside wall. We stay green flag as the trucks went off the racetrack, but I think that was also the 971 machine of Nate Maurer that got involved. And let's see if we can get this 3Y TV replay rolled up for your folks. There's a little bit of contact between Matt Cherry and Bilson, and oh man, nowhere for Nate Maurer to go as Bilson spun down the racetrack. Tough break for him. Nate Maurer also getting involved. Let's see. Yeah, right there. As I think that was Adam Newton who got a piece of it. Let's see if we go to the 3Y TV blimp cam. You see Matt Cherry tried to go to the top side, and Bilson tried to go up to throw a block, and ouch. Bilson hard into the inside wall, as was Nate Maurer getting a big chunk. And right now, looks like Nate Maurer on pit road here on the front stretch. But Andre, we stay green flag, and that has really broken up the top five as Scott Crump out front 0.3 of a second. Vincent Valvano, look at him on the podium for the first time here tonight. The number 64, Jason Freeman, up into 4th. Remember, an extra set of tires on pit road as well for Jason Freeman as, Scott Crump having a little bit of connection issues. You see front end damage on the number 29 machine of Adam Newton from that scuffle on the backstretch, but not enough to bring out a caution flag here as we are now inside 40 laps to go.
Now, to explain to the viewers at home why that was not a caution, because I think, you look at that and you think, in real life, that would have been a caution. And yes, it probably would have in real life. But iRacing's automated cautions basically follow a certain criteria. And that criteria is if a car is 45 degrees at an angle that it should not be, so that is to say 45 degrees in any direction that the racetrack is not going, and another truck passes within a certain radius of that truck, that will cause the yellow. But if you look at the back straightaway, we got a good shot of it right there, more than half of the pavement on the back stretch of Las Vegas is not the racing surface. So when they're down on the apron, it doesn't matter how far that car is angled, it doesn't matter how close drivers are passing by them, or if they're clobbering them in the door. They're not on the racing surface, it's not a concern. And pretty much as soon as Bilson bounced off that outside wall, he was diving down to the inside with Nate Maurer, and at that point, it was a non-issue as far as the iRacing criteria is concerned. So that's why it wasn't a caution. But Vinny Valvano falling a little bit further back in the running order here. You see him just kind of trapped on that outside line, and he's going to concede a position there to the number 2, Justin White, moving into 7th. It is Freeman moving up into 2nd place, however, taking it from Tristan Maher. Now, this is where it's got to be frustrating for Tristan here, Peter, because we know that 17 is fast, and we know that Tristan is a wheelman, but there's some damage on that 17, and I think it's definitely affecting him, because what I'm noticing is when he gets behind another truck, and you can see it right here on board, see how he's not really closing in on the straightaways here, Peter? His truck is down on revs. The draft is not pulling him up and allowing him to get those runs because of the damage he has to the side of that truck. And it's making it really tough to make any passes.
Meanwhile, he's going to try and give the number 20 of Jason Freeman a little bit of drafting help here, as Freeman going to go side by side. This is the first time we've seen someone really contend with Scott Crump side by side since the other Jason, the number 1 machine early on of Jason Gracias, who of course dropped out of the race after around lap number 20, unfortunately. But looks like Jason Freeman going to have a shot at the race lead. Maher going to continue to drop down. I know Maher and Freeman are buddies. They race in the Total Nonstop Racing League. Of course, we highlighted them a couple times. Used to broadcast them here on the channel as well. But looks like Maher now does stick with Jason Freeman down the backstretch as we're coming to 33 laps to go this time by. And I'm really impressed, Andre, with the number 29 machine, Adam Newton. We highlighted he's fast, but you can tell there's a lot of front-end damage on that number 29 Chevrolet sitting there in the 4th position right now as they continue to kind of yo-yo back and forth, almost like on a super speedway, Andre, when you see the two trucks kind of dance with one another halfway down the backstretch. Well, they're doing that in the middle of these corners as Scott Crump still trying to stay to that low side. Like he said at the top of the show, he said that's going to be where he wants to stay all night long, and he's doing so.
Yeah, he's definitely trying his hardest to defend that bottom lane, and everybody else is just doing what they can up top, trying to get that run, but it just hasn't worked out yet for any of them. Freeman, obviously a lot of speed under the hood of that number 20, but just not quite enough. As of yet, the 8's going to slide up a little bit. I think they avoided any contact, but again, the damage model is just so wonky right now with iRacing. You see that number 29, you pointed it out. The hood is pretty much mashed in on the front end. It looks like he just drove through a flock of pigeons, and yet he's maintaining pace. Meanwhile, we had other trucks that didn't look quite as damaged, and they were pretty much DOA. I mean, look at what happened to Jason Gracias, the number 1. Barely took a nudge to the front end. We saw a plume of smoke. He was out of the race. So damage model being a little bit weird, and it's kind of, I would say, adding some drama to a race that's already been pretty drama-filled. There's the 99, another truck with quite a bit of damage, heavily off pace. He's going to go down to the apron, let the leaders do their thing. And as he does that, Freeman says, I'm going to go somewhere too. That is to say, I'm going to the lead. That 20 is going to lead for the first time tonight at the line, but the 8 going to try to strike back with the 17 at his bumper, giving him a shove. Meanwhile, you got Newton and Buell, 4th and 5th. They're just watching this race, trying to see if these guys make any mistakes, if they open the door, waiting in the wings. And look who's come to play as well, Peter. This pack was a little bit further back. They've caught up. You've got Justin White. You've got Lester. You've got Lishinsky. These guys have... Actually, Lishinsky is still a little bit further back. But you do have the number 48. You do have the number 2. They were able to get to this lead pack. And now it is a 7-car race for the lead.
Yeah, and really, really good battle right up at the front of the field as Scott Crump again tries to get himself back up to the race lead, but he's not getting any help from the number 17 Tristan Maher as Maher pushes Jason Freeman down the backstretch, and Freeman again trying to keep that loud pedal down through the corner to get that run up off. Looks like Maher going to drop down to try and use that draft as all. They almost made contact at the front. Freeman almost got a clobber from Scott Crump. They almost touch again, and Andre, they're side drafting like it's the final lap here at Vegas.
Again, I don't think Scott Crump does side drafting. He does advanced side drafting, because every time somebody tries to take that position, he is putting his quarter panel right up on theirs, making sure that he is causing as much drag as possible. But you know what? He's doing it about as well as you could possibly do it. A lot of times you see drivers get over aggressive with the side drafts, and they take it too far. They spin somebody out, they make a mistake, they make contact. So far, the number 8 has not caused any damage. He's not wrecked anybody doing what he's doing. Everything he's doing is completely fair game. He's just really, really good at this aggressive side drafting. You can see him pinching the 20 up to that high line, forcing him into an entry that he didn't really want to take. I mean, the defense game on this number 8 truck is impeccable. I mean, I don't know what more these guys could throw at him to try to take this lead away, but, I mean, they're doing everything they can, and he's just not having any of it.
Yeah, not having anything of it is right. Just a good battle as we eclipse the century mark this time by. There'll be 100 laps in the books, just 25 more left to go here at Las Vegas. National Sim Racing Association always putting on a good show. Look at this crossover move. Jason Freeman now gets to the bottom side of the racetrack. Scott Crump going to try and hold him down there as they're now into turn number 1 and 2. The 20 of Freeman had to mega check up. Almost got ran over by the number 17. And that's going to allow Scott Crump to scoot away just a little bit. The 17 of Maher really had to check up. and that's going to cost him a couple of positions as well. He's going to slide back as looks like David Buell, Fred Lester also able to get on by. Crump now up to about a half-second lead up at the front of the field. 24 laps to go here. Andre, I just wonder if Jason Freeman running that high line has been using up his stuff just a little bit. We have mentioned that tires do seem to matter a little bit here at Vegas here tonight. Has got some battles a little bit further back. Brandon King trying to make a recovery. And Jason Schue there as well, running with the number 55. I'm actually a little bit surprised, Andre, that Brandon King has been laying back so much. Remember, he was so fast earlier in the show. I thought that when that caution flag came out a little while ago that he was going to be back in the mix. I just wonder if Brandon King's trying to save fuel to make it the rest of the way on this tank of gas, but almost getting up into the outside wall. But we'll see if any of these drivers are thinking about saving enough fuel to make it to the end.
Yeah, I mean, he could be saving. This is a track where you can save. It's not like Daytona or Talladega where how much you save is basically dictated by how much you draft. There is off-throttle time at this track. There is an opportunity to let off just a little bit sooner, roll into the throttle a little bit later, and if we do get any cautions or if they were saving under that last caution, they can pull in the clutch, they can shut off the ignition, do whatever they need to do to save a little bit of fuel. And I could see some drivers definitely going for the strategy because, again, we were right on the edge of that fuel window, like you pointed out. I mean, literally just 2 or 3 laps short for most of these guys. And that's a doable amount. I mean, you can save 2 or 3 laps, but this is what I was going to point out. We're about 20 laps into that run, and drivers like Adam Newton and the number 52 here as well, the drivers who are going to pit, they're going to do it soon because we're halfway through this run. Try to minimize the time spent on old tires. It's exactly what the 29's doing.
But now is when you're going to start to see a little bit of a strategy call. You got some drivers coming down, like you said, kind of splitting this run in half, trying to maximize time on fresh tires. Then we're also going to have some drivers that probably are going to do the opposite. Looks like Jason Freeman, Tristan Maher, Fred Lester kind of coming onto pit road as a little gaggle, doing a good job of staying off of one another. That could have been bad had they had made contact. We're already seeing some pit road snafus. But now this is going to put a little bit of pressure on Scott Crump. He knows he had about a half-second lead, but his key contenders have come down pit road. He's going to stay out another lap this time. We heard him earlier in the show say tire wear doesn't matter a whole lot, but he's going to continue to click off these lap times up at the front of the field. Last time by ran a 31.73. That's a full second slower than his fastest lap that he's run here tonight. Granted, he's got no drafting partners right now. 2 seconds back to the number 2 machine of Justin White. He's not getting any draft off of them. Of course, there's a couple of slower trucks in front of him. I think one of those might be the number 99 of Philip Scott, who got to give him credit. Andre, Philip's been down on power for quite some time, but he's continuing to click off laps. He's being scored 5 laps down right now. But some of those nights, they make for long nights here in the National Sim Racing Association. But some of those nights, when you pick up some extra points, they can matter when we get to the playoffs. Got currently 7 drivers still out there on the lead lap. One of those, there's Matt Cherry. He was involved in that accident that did not bring out a caution. I was going to say maybe he is trying to save fuel because he's way back, but I think that's a byproduct of the amount of damage he has. Then Garrett Gleason, the number 7, who I thought might have been laying back enough maybe to save fuel. He's proven me wrong. He's on pit road, and I think that indicates to me that Scott Crump, he's going to have to come down pit road. Justin White, Stephen Lashinsky, Brandon King. I thought maybe, just maybe, Andre, that he might, in that number 55, be able to make it. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and find out. Last time by, Brandon King ran a 31.9 second lap time. The drivers that just exited pit road, like Tristan Maher, they're not running much faster. So I'll just have to keep an eye on it. I'll keep an eye on the lap times taken by these drivers. In fact, we'll bring that up there kind of on the left-hand side of your screen so you can see where your favorite driver is and what lap times they're running. David Buell, the fastest of everyone inside the top 10, at 30.72 last time by. Jason Freeman, Tristan Maher running low 31s or so. Faster than Scott Crump, but what can that number 8 do? Can he make it the rest of the way these final 15 laps without having to come down pit road?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think it's impossible. But, whereas I could see the 55 being able to make it, he's been a little bit slower and definitely a little bit more conservative. I haven't seen that out of Crump. Crump has pretty much been turning the same lap times he's been turning all night long, and he has built himself up quite a gap to the cars behind as well. So if anybody's going to make it, I'm going to put my money on King. Crump, maybe, but I could see him having to pit later on. Either way, I still like this move by Crump and by King. If a caution were to come out late into this event and they're still out front, they have that track position, not a bad play. Not a bad play at all. Although that it is kind of a concern for Crump. If all these other drivers come down pit road, they've got moderately fresh tires, and then they don't come down pit road for the caution because they don't have any more tires to take, he's going to have a lot of trucks that he's got to race his way up through in this field. So it could go either way. But I did just hear somebody's going to be pitting on the driver radio. I'm not sure if that was the 55. It wasn't the number 8. So let's keep an eye on the 55. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Brandon King.
So King not going to make it, and I think that spells disaster for the 8, Peter, because if he can't make it, I don't think anybody can.
So I'm just kind of thinking through this right now, Andre. I'm just looking at those lap times there on the left-hand side of your screen. One driver that is absolutely standing out to me right now, this number 20 right here, Jason Freeman. And I'd mentioned earlier in the race that he had that extra set of tires on pit road. I don't know if Scott Crump, and as Scott Crump comes down pit road, I'm not sure if he has a fresh set of tires on pit road here. He might be taking fuel only. Let's see what the number 8 does when he comes to his pit box. But if what the numbers in my head are right, maybe Jason Freeman just had that extra set of tires. I mean, he's blisteringly fast is Jason Freeman. The number 8, Crump, in his pit box. You see no tires going on the number 8 Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series truck. He's down and away. It's going to be a fast pit stop for him. But Jason Freeman right now has been lapping about a half second faster. Let's see where the number 20 of Jason Freeman is. And Freeman's going to whip on by. And Andre, that strategy call early in the race by Jason Freeman could have just won him the race here, as he's been the fastest truck on the racetrack, and now he's passed the number 8 of Crump. Lashinsky, Schue, and White still have to make their final pit stop. Justin White actually is making that right now. There he is on pit road. Wow, Jason Freeman could have just thrown the dice at Vegas and coming up big, but we still have 9 laps to go before those checkers fall.
I said it right away when we saw what Adam Newton and Freeman and all those other drivers were doing. When we saw that they were saving tires, I said, you know what? I like that move because it's always better to have them on hand if you need them. And, well, that strategy definitely showing its strength right here. The number 20 able to get out and away from Crump. Didn't even have to track him down and pass him with those fresher tires. He was able to cycle out just on raw pace alone ahead of the number 8. The 8 just didn't have the tires to take, so he's got himself a pretty sizable lead over some of these drivers that he's going to be battling for position. Again, Lashinsky down pit road. Schue's going to have to make a pit stop as well. So Freeman in the provisional lead. He's got about 3 seconds over Buell, who also is pretty quick. That 52 is also pretty fast in his own right. But 2 to 3 seconds between them with only 8 to go. That's a huge margin to try to make up. And I think as long as Freeman is able to stay calm, hit his marks, this could be his night, as there goes Jason Schue in the number 3. That's going to be the last truck, the last domino to fall. And as Freeman goes by him on pit road this time, once he gets out of turn 4, he will inherit the lead. It will be 7 to go. Not much racing left, as Crump is in 5th place. He is currently about 3 seconds behind the next truck ahead for position. Actually, as the timing and scoring finally updates, he's about a second behind the next car for position.
Andre, I'm I'm looking at some numbers here, buddy, and I'm seeing Jason Freeman. That last pit stop that he did, he only took 2 tires. The number 52 of Buell here, Fred Lester, they took 4 tires. Now there's only 6 laps to go, but they have 4 fresh tires. Freeman only has 2. I think Freeman only took 2 right sides. These 2 trucks that you see on your screen, they're running out of time. They surely are running out of time. But if we got another caution, I'd put my money on these 2, just because they have 4 fresh tires. I'm just seeing right now they're about 0.2 of a second faster per lap. They're going to come up a little bit short, but if they start to sniff that draft a little bit, Andre, that draft that is all powerful, that can gain you a couple extra tenths, it might not be all said and done, but we'll just have to wait and find out. 5 laps to go, 4.5 now as they head down the Nellis straightaway, and still about 1.5 seconds between Jason Freeman and David Buell.
Yeah, they're gaining about 1/10 to 2/10 per lap, and remember, you don't need to make up all 1.4 because as the draft is very powerful, just like you said, Peter, you get within 1 second of that truck ahead, and I think the arrow is going to do the rest of the work. So 1.3 seconds now as it is 4 to go. And remember, the 52 is not on his own. It's not just the benefit of having those 4 fresh tires versus the 2 tires of our leader. He's also got the 48 pushing him. You got 2 cars tandeming, which is always going to be faster. It's now 1.1 seconds. It was 1.5 last time we went down this back straightaway, so they have gained 0.3 of a second now, 0.4, as they come through 3 and 4, down to 1 second gap. This is not over, Peter. They're going to get there.
And meanwhile, a little bit further back, Justin White just got around Scott Crump, so moved the number 2 up into 4th. It's a good night for him. Now under 0.9 of a second, you can see that is now 0.8 of a second as they head off towards turn number 3 and 4. Jason Freeman up front. That was the lap traffic of the 99 to Philip Scott, who I don't think he caught Philip in a good spot. It's down to almost 0.5 second, 2 laps to go. David Buell trying to make things interesting. Remember, Buell started this race in the 2nd position on the outside front row. Had a great qualifying lap. Andre, he's going to need another qualifying lap as look at this. Inside 0.2 of a second as we come to the white flag.
He's there. He just has to try to make something happen. He's got the 48 behind him. And as they come out of turn 4, the white flag will fly one more time around the track. One opportunity for Buell in the 52 to get around Freeman. Freeman is going to defend this position. He's put himself in a really great place. He played the strategy just right. He doesn't want that effort, all that time to go to waste. And the 52 is going to move up high. He's got the 48 pushing him. Into the wall goes the 52. Contact with our leader. They're not done racing yet. The 48 gets down underneath, but it's not going to be enough. Freeman in the number 20 out of turn 4. Does the 48 make contact? He's going to bump him. Oh my goodness. It's not going to be enough. The number 20 takes the win. Oh my goodness, Peter. What a final lap. Oh man, I'm gonna need to take a breather after that one.
I tell you, that was a wild one here on 3 Wide TV. Whew. I didn't see that one coming, honestly. That, with 5 laps to go, 2 seconds, oh boy, it was all the way to the end. Andre, I know we say this time and time again here about the National Sim Racing Association, but they keep us on the edge of our seat all the way to the checkered flag 9 times out of 10. A fantastic racing league, and Jason Freeman gonna burn it down here on the front stretch. He earned it, Andre. He absolutely earned it. I'm gonna be curious to know what he has to say. Whether he thinks maybe 4 tires would have been a better call. But either way, it worked out as the number 20 goes to victory lane. And how about that? Scott Crump, who dominated all night long, only able to manage a 5th place finish. But the Stay Tuned Sports number 8 machine looked nice and strong. And how about the runs from Fred Lester and David Buell? Both of those drivers qualified up at the front of the field and worked their way to strong finishes here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's top 3 finishers here in the Schue's Lawn Care Service 301. Let's see, where is David Buell? I know he's usually in here. We'll make sure that he gets a little bit of time to jump down here into the 3-wide TV booth. But Andre, why don't you take it away with tonight's third place finisher, the number 52. It was beating and banging for the lead on that final lap.
David Buell, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, David, man, oh man, you had us up in the booth on the edge of our seats. We were watching you reel in the leader those last few laps. You had 4 fresh tires versus his 2, and we figured you were going to get there, but it was going to be tough to try to make the move. And you got up alongside him on the last lap on the back straightaway, and then things just kind of went awry. Walk me through it.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have to drive in deep to have a chance to pass him because he was, staying in that low line. And on old tires, you had to kind of dive it low to get back to the wall, and I just didn't have room. And I hit the wall, and I was just glad I didn't wreck him and cost him in the race because he did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, everybody involved did a great job keeping it pointed in the right direction. I was really impressed that you were able to make that recovery. When I seen you bounce off the wall, I thought things were going to be a lot worse than they were. I mean, how did you keep that thing under control? I mean, that looked pretty crazy.
To be honest with you, closed my eyes and just turned. No, I just tried to touch the brakes a little and put it back in the right direction, without locking them up.
Absolutely. Now, I feel like you pretty much covered all the bases tonight, David. I mean, you had really good strategy. You had really good speed. What does that do for the confidence going forward?
It does good. This league is as you know, these guys are fast in this league, and it makes me feel kind of slow. But tonight, just one of them nights where everything worked out for me. So it's just too bad I couldn't take it home.
Well, there is always going to be next week, and if tonight was anything to go off of, we know you got the speed to do it. So I think your night's coming, David, and I want to congratulate you on your top 3. But before we let you out of the booth and let you off the hook, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Oh, yeah, to you guys. I watch the broadcast every week after the race, and it really helps me know, what I did wrong and what other guys are doing. So, man, thank y'all for broadcasting. Y'all do a great job. And, thank Tom for helping me there at the end. And I'm just glad I didn't wreck him, and Justin and Nate and all my teammates, Adam. And that's about it.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the podium. Go get them next week, David.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good night.
All right. David Buell out of the booth. And now, Peter, let's see what second place has to say. He was involved in that scuffle as well. Here's Tom Lester for you, Peter.
Yeah, the great run here tonight for the number 48 machine coming home in second. Started up towards the front of the field, but what could have been if there was just a couple of extra laps for you, Fred? Let us know how your night was from your perspective and how exciting it was to be running down race leader Jason Freeman right there at the end.
It felt good. I was trying to help David Buell get up there, maybe get the win, and they got into it. And I was end up on the lucky side of it. End up second. Felt very good tonight.
Well, it definitely was a night that most people would say, hey, Scott Crump dominated. But at the end of the night, a little bit of strategy call early in the race, paying dividends late in the show. Kind of talk us through that early race strategy and how exactly you were able to walk away with second place on the podium tonight.
Tire strategy. Well, I didn't take tires after the first stage. I knew it was going to be like 20 laps short. I'd rather have them toward the end than I would toward the beginning of the race. And lucky that caution come out near the end, toward the end of the race, and it kind of fell in their hands.
Yeah, that caution that y'all got, I'm sure that was music to your ears at that point. And of course, with that last green flag pit stop, what was going through your mind with that late race green flag pit stop, hitting your marks and ultimately ending up being the money stop?
Yeah. It's like qualifying laps after every lap after that. You know what I mean? It's just all out. Hope you didn't get in nobody. Luckily, I didn't.
Well, a great showing here tonight at Las Vegas. Just looking at the schedule, we go from Vegas next week, an off week, but the week after that is New Atlanta, another racetrack that kind of races like a super speedway. What are your thoughts about that racetrack in 2 weeks?
lay back, stay out of trouble till the final 20, 30 laps and hope it comes back into your hands again.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one. Fred, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank y'all in the booth. Justin White, Adam Newton, Dave Buell, Nate Moyer for all the help they give. And everybody for the good, clean racing.
Yeah, definitely a good race here tonight and a lot of fun right there at the end. Congratulations on second, Fred. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you now.
All right, that's going to do it with tonight's runner-up, and I believe that our good friend Andre Grambush has headed down into victory lane with Jason Freeman. Andre.
Mr. Freeman, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Jason, that was one heck of a showing. I mean, you played the strategy to a T, but even with the perfect strategy, nothing was guaranteed. You still had to fight for it those last few laps. Tell me a little bit about the end of the race.
Yeah, that was some fun, hard racing. I needed the cautions to fall right, and they just did. We're in Vegas, so I figured why not roll the dice. I knew I wasn't probably had a top 10 truck, but it wasn't a truck good enough to win the race, so I had to kind of split my strategy up and try to save a set of tires there for the end. And if the cautions fell right, then it was going to work, and if they didn't fall, it wasn't going to work. And luckily, we got that caution there, and I was able to get back up the front and run with those guys. And ran Scott, man. He was hard to pass, and we ran side by side for a while, and then I saw David coming, and he took 4 tires. I only took 2, and I knew he was going to be right there at the end. I tried to give him room off 2, and I think he just tagged the wall a little bit and came down into me. But so it was fun, good hard racing, good clean racing, and had a blast.
It was definitely fun to watch from up in the booth for sure. And that last lap, I mean, I got to ask you a little more about it. It was a 3-car battle. They had caught up to you just at the tail end of the race, and even after that little scuffle where David kind of bounced off the wall, you still had the 48 right on your rear bumper, and it looked like he was kind of pushing you through the corner. Were you at all getting unsettled by that? I mean, like aero-wise, or did the truck still feel pretty planted?
No, the truck still felt planted, but I was down on speed then because whenever David got into my side, it destroyed my right front. But I thought for sure coming off 4, Lester was going to hit to the apron, and if he did, I was going to have to block him, and I probably would have wrecked myself doing it. But he stayed right behind me, so I kind of appreciate that clean finish there. And yeah, that was fun.
Absolutely. Now I do have to mention we got a guy in chat, Aaron Pierce, says, "Tell Freeman good job tweeters." That was his nickname throughout high school. So just had to mention that, but we do want to congratulate you on the win. And I got to ask you, any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, first off, Aaron, he's my little brother, so guess he had to throw a punch in there. My nickname was Tweeters, but appreciate him watching. Appreciate Justin Waite and putting on this league, and all my teammates over at TNR, Garrett, Jason Schue, Vinny, Jason Gracias. He got caught up, I think, early in pit road, and Tristan, Phillip, good bunch of guys, and we all try to help each other out and get a little quicker. Check out my truck sponsors, Mason Dixon Cornhole. Follow them on Facebook, and you guys up in the booth for putting this on.
All right. Well, Jason, congratulations on a hard-fought win. It was a great showing, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
And that is going to do it for the race winner, Jason Freeman. Again, Peter, I mean, so far, 2 races in, we've had 2 fantastic finishes and 2 really well-earned wins. I mean, these guys, the competition level in this league, it seems like every week, they got to fight for it. Nothing is handed to you here.
Yeah, nothing is handed for you. You have to fight from lap 1 all the way to 125. Every lap matters, and strategy calls early in the race matter late. And that was definitely the case for Jason Freeman, picking up his first win of the season here tonight. Fred Lester in second, David Buell in third. A really, really good podium. Love that podium. Don't often see those 3 on the podium, but when you do, you know it has been a good night. Justin White sitting in fourth. Scott Crump, who led the most laps here tonight without a doubt and won the stage. He is going to come home in 5th. Adam Newton in 6th. Jeff Price in 7th. Tristan Maher 8th. Brandon King in the number 55 coming home in 9th. And Steven Lashinsky running at our top 10, Andre.
And just outside of the top 10, Vinny Valvano is going to finish 11th in that number 64 truck. Jason Schue, he was involved in a couple of incidents tonight, but he's going to bring it back to 12th. So not too bad. Jim Casterline with a top 15. He's going to bring it home 13th in that 18 truck. He had a really good night tonight. I said, I think he's going to have a good finish, and there we go. So hopefully he can carry that momentum forward. Garrett Gleason going to finish P14 right ahead of Matt Cherry in 15th. Philip Scott was working with a wounded horse pretty much all night long. Got a lot of damage early on in that pit road mishap, and that kind of took some top end off of that motor, but he's bringing it home inside the top 20. 17th is going to go to Paul Bilson, also involved in a late race incident. He's going to be right ahead of Bryce Hunter in 18th. Nate Maurer going to be P19, and rounding out the top 20, John Flamian.
Behind Flamian, a couple of drivers that had tough nights, including the Tesoro brothers. Dominic Tesoro finishing 21st, Julian Tesoro 22nd. Dominic having contact there with Flamian late, and Julian Tesoro having that pit road problem that unfortunately got into the back of Bryce Hunter and absolutely destroyed the number 92 here tonight. But Josh Smith going to come home 23rd, and Jason Gracias called it an early night after that pit road scuffle early on. I had reported early in the race that Josh Smith had retired his number 13, but he was able to get it back out and pick up that 23rd spot from Jason Gracias. So, folks, a lot of fun here tonight, but like I mentioned, we do have an off week next week, and so it's 2 weeks from now when we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. But, Andre, I have to say, my appetite has been whetted. 2 races into the season, 2 spectacular races, and I expect just the same at Atlanta. And then, of course, we've got road course action the week after that at Road America, and then Texas Motor Speedway the week after that. So a couple of heavy hitter racetracks here in the short term on the calendar.
For sure. Atlanta's going to be a lot of fun. Some road course racing is going to be a lot of fun. I think we all know how I feel about Texas, and I think you feel the same way. So we're just going to ignore that one. But those other 2 tracks, man, those are going to be fun. And these guys are really making the 2023 season something of a spectacle, which, I thought last season was going to be hard to top, but these first 2 races have been quite a bit of fun.
Yeah, that they have been. But big shout out to our series sponsor, of course, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast. Big shout out to tonight's race sponsor, Schue's Lawn Service, presented by FatalConcepts.com. Of course, 2 weeks from now at Atlanta, it will be the FatalConcepts.com 301 presented by Schue's Lawn Service. Kind of a little bit of a switcheroo there, but a big shout out to them, as well as all the other series sponsors here in the National Sim Racing Association. You can check them out in the description of the video as well. So make sure you do so. But 2 weeks from now, we're back in action, and I might just have to upgrade my internet. This new ISP might not work out for me. We'll figure it out. But a great race here tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and we shall see ya.